Yeah, I've seen the news, guys. You sure are posting about it, and I'm glad that I stuck around stream a little longer because this is worth addressing immediately. It's good news? Well, it's interesting news. Here we go. The Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, is requiring the Trump administration to facilitate the return of Kilmar Obrego Garcia. That's the Maryland. That's the fella who we've talked about him before. Yeah, one of the people sent down to El Salvador. Man, 9-0. This is a direct. So this might not have been as big of a deal, but the Trump administration has been openly flaunting the fact that they have no intention of bringing him back, even though they've admitted that it was a mistake to send him out. Like multiple officials, Stephen Miller, I believe Elon Musk, Trump, a bunch of them have been basically like joshing around, like, what are we supposed to do? Go and get the guy we sent to an illegal torture facility overseas? What do you, come on? I know that like the government's done that before when we need to, but you know. So this is like actually a huge blow to the Trump administration. And now we're getting a guy back from CSOT, which means that he's going to be interviewed by everyone on Earth. Huh. The application is granted in part and denied in part, subject to the direction of this order. Due to the administrative stay issued by the Chief Justice, the deadline imposed by the District Court has now passed. There was an administrative stay issued by Justice Roberts a few days ago. I covered that when it happened as well. I say that in case you're grasping for a memory of the event and you watch my streams consistently, which I described as like a affirmation of the Trump administration's power, because it was. But the stay has expired, and following the expiration of the stay, to that extent, the government's emergency application is effectively granted in part, and the deadline in the challenged order is no longer effective. The rest of the district court's order remains in effect but requires clarification of remand. The order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. The intended scope of the term effectuate in the district court's order is, however, unclear and may exceed the district court's authority. The district court should clarify its directive with due regard for the deference owed to the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs. Okay, so basically the issuance here, what they're saying is the Trump administration does need to facilitate his release, but the district court that made that demand of the executive branch needs to clarify the term effectuate with regard to their limited authority in directing the president on matters of foreign affairs. It is still saying release him, though. For its part, the government should be prepared to share what it can concerning the steps it has taken and the prospect of further steps. The order heretofore entered by the Chief Justice is vacated. This is actually a really big deal. Good news for once. It's such good news that it makes me worry there might be a catch. I'm trying to think of ways this could go poorly. The Trump administration just flat out says no. Just flatly says, like, nope, it's impossible. The Supreme Court's on one today. Sorry, we can't do it. Not possible. Let them enforce it. The Trump administration colludes with Bukele in El Salvador to have him, Garcia, killed, so that he can't come back and testify to the conditions in CSOT. It'd be easy for them to do. What else? They could attempt to silence him or fabricate charges against him, either like after getting him out or before getting him. They could say, oh, we'll facilitate the release. In 6 months, we have a conversation scheduled with Bukele, and we'll ask him about it. Like they could, the Trump administration could essentially like pretend they don't have the power to get them and like feign incompetence. There are still a bunch of ways this could go poorly, but it's still, certainly this does not benefit the Trump administration, which makes me wonder, why 9-0? Why would Clarence Thomas, the most evil man alive, vote this way? I can think of maybe some explanations. And yeah, an adherence to due process. He wants to do evil in a different way. I don't know. It might be they don't like the administration undermining the judiciary. That might be a big part of it. I said this before about like some of the people working under or around Elon Musk, but like even if you're really evil, that doesn't mean you don't chafe at being treated like an idiot. Like you can be the most evil guy in the world, but if you have to deal with Elon like in your ear all the time, giving you stupid advice and telling jokes, eventually it's going to wear at you. Supreme Court justices, regardless of how like evil or wrong they often are, Clarence Thomas is a objectively well-educated person and does have a very high opinion of himself. I wonder if the Trump administration so flagrantly like ignoring the judiciary as a branch, I wonder if that might just be irritating him in like an ego sense, not because he wants to do good, but because he's like, no, I think the judiciary is actually pretty important. I'll show you. They agreed because he's already dead. I don't think Garcia's already dead. I think it would be very stupid of them to kill the Americans that they're sent. I think that would be, it's possible, but I don't think that's true. Because then they can't be used as tools or bargaining chips in the future. Like what, they just get sent to a meat grinder in El Salvador? I don't see the point. I don't see the point. Also, keep in mind, journalists are allowed to access CSOT, just in a very limited and guided capacity. So, you know, you send a bunch of Americans down there, they disappear. Eventually, you know, like you want to be able to show like video of them all sitting in an uncomfortable position with their head shaved or something. Thomas is not as smart as you think. Oh, I didn't say Thomas was smart. I said he was well educated. Statement of Justice Sotomayor, with whom Justice Kagan and Jackson joined, respecting the court's disposition of the application. And then we have the statement from Sotomayor, where she agrees with what we have to say, obviously. Like, obviously, of course, we're going to agree with Sotomayor's, statement here. Because every factor governing requests for equitable relief manifestly weighs against the government, I would have denied to intervene in this litigation and denied the application in full. Basically, she's saying she wouldn't have done Robert's stay. Nevertheless, I agree with the court's order that the proper remedy is to provide Obrego Garcia with all the process to which he would have been entitled had he not been unlawfully removed to El Salvador. This means the government must comply with its obligation to provide Obrego Garcia with due process of law, including notice and an opportunity to be heard in any future proceedings. It must also comply with its obligations under the Convention Against Torture. See Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel and Inhumane or Degrading Treatment and Punishment. Federal law, right, torture is illegal. Technically, kind of, maybe, not really. And that's the final statement. A concurrence from Sotomayor. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal. This just came out. I mean, this is like less than an hour old. Here we go. Here we go. Finally, it's on the front page of AP News. I checked 5 minutes ago and it wasn't here. Damn. Okay, okay. We'll see. I want to send this to the editors immediately, but I'm not going to send them the stream when I have 10 minutes left in stream to read donations. So I'm going to read donations, end the stream, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay?